angle will make me look fat. Probably. It is partly because I can stand to lose a little bit of weight. So I dropped off my kids at an event, a good deal from home. I'm going to go there in a little bit, but I went to get a coffee and frankly not up to socializing very much tonight. Facing a lot of pain in my arm, which I'm going to have taken a look at this week. I know where it's coming from. I just need to get an official diagnosis as to I know the region that's bothered. I just need to find out what's causing the bothering. So pray that that's something easily fixable, and I, the physical therapist, will probably have to submit myself to physical therapy. It's bound to happen at some point in my life. I want to talk about a few news things, just because I feel the need to talk about these things and don't always have a welcome audience, except for you who are stuck watching my channel. I do appreciate that. But here's an article. This is through Breitbart. Excuse me. New York declares monkeypox an imminent public health threat. 1,300 confirmed cases statewide. And here, so this subtitle to this. New York State declared the monkeypox. Biden administration moves to combat the spread of the viral disease. Anyway, I'm not going to read this because I've heard a lot of stories about it. Perhaps you have too. Oh, now they're talking about trying to get secure monkeypox vaccines for New York. Okay. Here's a telling statement. With more than 1/4 of all cases in the U.S., New Yorkers, and especially our LGBTQ plus community, remain among the hardest hit. Yes, they do. In fact, recent stats showed that's anywhere from like 95 to 98% were amongst the homosexual male community. Not just LGBTQ, but a subset of that, the actual gay male. And in fact, it's so predominant in gay males that you can pretty much assume that somebody contracts monkeypox, likely engaged in something. In fact, there are a number of articles that have apparently come out that have been very straightforward. Let me see if I can find out about one. Let me see. New York Times, monkeypox. How serious is monkeypox? All right, this is by a lady. Okay, so this is just a straightforward news article, but I believe the New York Times had an article by somebody, like an opinion piece, by a gay man, who described in great detail, apparently, his escapades that led to the contraction of monkeypox. Let's just say he's what's the word? Profligate? That's probably a good word. And he described in detail how he got monkeypox. And apparently this is happening quite a bit. So anyway, New York City declaring a state of emergency, or New York State. And then somebody said, I don't know why there aren't more vaccines available for monkeypox. A frustrated Schiff told CBS's Face the Nation Sunday. I'm hearing from healthcare providers in my district that there are people lining up to get vaccinated, and they don't have the vaccines for them, and that is a real problem. I'll tell you what, one way to make sure you don't get it, don't engage in the behavior that leads to it. But that would be too easy. Take personal responsibility. All right, here's another article. Totally different subject. This is again from Breitbart. And it says this, white accountability groups held at colleges across America. And it shows a picture of what I'm guessing is a woman just given the shape, although the head is shaved. I'm not sure. And holding two signs, one that says, "What is to be done?" You know, these rather obtuse signs. Like, what do we do of it? And then, but the other one's a little bit more clear. White lives matter too much. So it says this: colleges across America have held white accountability groups that urge white students to check their privilege and become anti-racist allies. One such university is the University of North Texas, which held a white accountability group through its Division of Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. Oh, they've added another word to that. Usually it's DIE, Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity. That's an appropriate acronym. But now they've added Access. Oh, IDEA. I get it. IDEA. So I wonder how many people showed up at this meeting. University of North Texas. I wonder what city that is in. Because Texas, tends to be more conservative. But you get to the cities of Texas and you encounter all manner of progressivism. Houston, Austin's the big one, but Houston, and to some extent Dallas, although I do believe Dallas has a tendency to be a little more conservative. Where else? Loyola University in Maryland has hosted white accountability groups. The university's Office of Equity and Inclusion, so they only get 2 letters there, tacitly argued that its white students were vessels for white supremacy when it stated that the purpose of such groups was to keep ourselves and our campus accountable as we continue to work towards dismantling white supremacy in all the spaces that it lives, even and especially when that space is inside of us. How profound. All right, University of St. Thomas. I'm not sure what state they're in, but anyway, says they hold a white accountability workshop. The program is intended to serve as a space for students to explore how whiteness and racism show up in our daily lives and systems to affect our thoughts, feelings, relationships, health and well-being, community, and much more. There was a survey I heard about the other day that was taken in the 1970s. The 1970s, the survey was taken of Black, I want to say college-aged individuals. Keep in mind the 1970s, okay? Shortly after the desegregation of college campuses and other schools. And those Black students were asked the question about whether racism impacted them and how much did they think about it. And 9 out of 10 of those students said none or practically none did the issue of racism come into their daily lives and their thoughts, which is kind of interesting, being how close they were to desegregation. But now we're just inundated with it because groups like this insist that, somebody like myself is racist just because I have a certain skin hue. I wonder if I got a really nice tan, would that make me less racist just because I have more color? By the way, when I was young in college, the best quarter of schooling, so I was a really good student, but I always hovered in the 3.39 GPA range. Always had a class or two that brought me down a little bit from a 4.0 because I just didn't try hard enough. But I had one semester I was bound and determined to get a 4.0, and so I worked my butt off. But I had a physics 2 class that was just absolutely terrible. Professor was terrible. And so I skipped his class and just studied on my own and came to take the tests. Yes, I did manage a 4.0 that quarter because I worked my butt off. But I would go out and lay out in the sun every day for like an hour when his class was supposed to be. So I regularly skipped his class. I had a killer tan at the end of that semester. So was I, because I was pretty dark by the time that semester got done, was I maybe less racist because I was darker? I don't know. Here we go. The University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Oh, come on, Tennessee. Tennessee. University of Tennessee, Knoxville also held a white accountability group where students would critically engage in whiteness, white privilege, and hold each other accountable. Students were also called to identify and interrupt internalized dominance. What in the world does that mean? What does that even mean? All right, let's see if that works. And then go over to the Huffington Post and look at the very same subject matter and compare the two articles and tell me what you think. Because I guarantee you one is going to be to the point and one is going to be extremely verbose. So, and Breitbart, to the point. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi called for, or I should say, is now saying that we are not in a recession, even though we had 2 quarters of negative GDP, which has been the previous recession definition. And they actually have her on camera in a video stating very clearly that's what a recession was back in 2008. And of course, we're coming off the heels of the Bush 2 presidency and going into the Obama presidency. And so she was making the case, obviously, against Bush. But now that Biden, her boy, is in the presidency, we're no longer in a recession if there's 2 quarters back to back with negative GDP. I like this this tweet. The only time I follow Twitter is when somebody posts about a tweet, because I have it, but I don't pay attention to it. But this brings up a point that I've brought up before. There's a consistent problem with liberals in general, or progressives. Just a few words that liberals have redefined: recession. So we are truly in a recession, and yet you're seeing the White House, you're seeing various pundits come out and try to say, we're not in a recession. There's so many things you got to look at. But here's some other words that they've tried to redefine lately. Woman. The problem is they can't define it, at least according to Ketanji Brown Jackson, our newest Supreme Court justice, when asked what a woman was when she was talking about it. And then asked to define it. She said, I'm not a biologist. Vaccine, because what we're given in shot form related to the COVID, related to COVID, ain't a vaccine by the previous definition. Democracy. What does democracy mean? Well, it means people rule. The rule of the people. Democracy. We live not really in a true democracy in the United States. We are in a constitutional republic. But people have tried to redefine democracy. Have I seen What is a Woman? I started to watch it, and I haven't joined the Daily Wire. I really need to. But I started to watch it through somebody who was doing a review of it and playing clips of it. And I watched Matt Walsh practically every day he does his show. So he's talked about significant portions of it, but if you've watched it, I'm sure you thought it was excellent. It's got a huge, excellent rating in Rotten Tomatoes, one of the highest rated films out there right now. But what is a woman? Can you imagine having a conversation around that 10 years ago even, or 5 years ago? Well, even 5 years ago, we were starting to see that definition redefined. Healthcare. This this is one of my favorites. I had a friend of mine posted a meme. She's a big liberal. Posted a meme the other day, and it was an old advertisement, and it said, "Come to Canada," and it showed a family with a young boy, mother and father, young boy, by a lake, and it was obviously an old advertisement, but they'd put what do you call it? Dialogue bubbles above them, like they were saying something. Julie says, "Hi, I came across one of your videos about religious exemption. Just wanted to say thank you very much. I got my exemption." That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad for that, because that video that you found, I never expected that to go for my channel viral. And now it's over 50,000 views, which I never had a video go that viral for me. So I'm glad it's helping people. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's a fight that I've taken very seriously, and I'm glad I can help out some people with that. Where was I going? Oh, the advertisement from Canada. So anyway, it said, "Come to Canada," and they were in Canada, this family, and the little boy's bubble said, "I can get health care here. I can get health care here." Can't that little boy get health care in the United States? And sorry, distracted by some guy yelling outside his vehicle. So what was the premise? He can't get health care in the United States. That was the premise. That was the point that my friend is making. And, as far as I know, the United States still has health care available for everybody. And what she meant was, can't this little boy get access to a COVID vaccine? Well, age 5 and above we do have the emergency use authorization provided by the federal government for 5 and above to get the shot. So those below it, they're working on that, but frankly, the data as shared through the CDC, especially a recent study that came out, shows we're getting diminishing returns the younger you go. The risk for adverse events from the vaccination are actually much higher than if you get the disease, if you're a young person. It looks better for you if you're older like me. But even then, I show this, I talk about this in the course I did for ethics. It's not clear that there's a positive risk-benefit analysis for even older people getting the vaccine. But that's beside the point. Okay, what else? What other words have they redefined? Racist. Yes, just because I'm a certain skin color, therefore I'm automatically a racist. Wrong. And I've made it very clear, and this is a biblical perspective, that a Christian that holds a biblical worldview truly cannot and will not be a racist, because the basic premise of racism is that you view yourself superior because you come from a certain ethnic group or you have a certain skin hue. And the Bible eradicates that possibility very clearly, because whether we are brown-skinned, white-skinned, black-skinned, any hue in between, we're still all created in the image of God and all equal before God and all equally in need of the Savior, Jesus Christ, before God. That eliminates racism right there. They also redefined the phrase mostly peaceful. You might remember back when we were having the BLM riots, there was a news reporter who was doing a live broadcast. This goes back the summer of 2019, I think it was, doing a live broadcast at night. There's fire raging from napalm behind him, and he's going, well, these protests are mostly peaceful. Straight face into the camera. So yes, the left has redefined mostly peaceful. All right. So anyway, that's enough covering the news on a Friday, and I probably should head over to see how things are going with the festivities. Thanks for joining me as I get off my chest thoughts, because my family generally doesn't want to hear such in-depth and cogent analysis. No, they're pretty good. I have a couple good ones about talking about stuff. The problem is those that want to talk about it generally don't want me to bring up some of this stuff around the younger kids, which is perfectly understandable. Some of this stuff is just not appropriate to talk about with younger kids, like monkeypox and the origin of that. They wouldn't understand this white accountability group stuff. I get it. And frankly, the economic stuff from the recession, they just know, things are a little bit more tight financially, but they don't understand the whole recession thing. Well, I'm glad you enjoy the discussion. I just got a comment. We enjoy the discussion. I'm glad. So I appreciate you joining me on a Friday night. Do you remember back in the day when you used to actually do something fun on a Friday night? And now I'm shuttle service for my kids, and meanwhile, I will spend time looking at the news. That's my Friday night, but it's a lot safer than what I used to do when I was young on Friday nights. So I'm thankful for that. So anyway, John Adamson with Seeking Light. Oh, and one other thing. So those of you that are looking forward to the live presentation, we would go outside and play in the dirt. Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm talking about a little bit older, like college age, post-college age, young single guy. Friday nights, I'm thankful I'm here alive today. But those of you that are looking forward to my my ethics course, working still on the logistics of what format, what platform that's going to be presented through. And I'm talking to a couple entities who are possibly interested in putting it on. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. If not, I'll just do it on my own platform somehow. I'll figure that out. Anyway, John Adamson with Seeking Light. Take care. God bless.